Alright, I'm going to play Hearts of Iron from the 1936 The Road to War campaign as the USA. Now, I am not a min-maxer, I just play the game for fun, and anyone who watches this, if anyone does and has issues with what I do, I don't cheat or anything, but I just have my way of doing things. So let's see what happens. The very first thing I do when starting off as the USA is take every unit and send it to Washington, D.C. I will also take the cavalry and disband it. No sense in paying upkeep for it. Make sure I get all the ships, planes. The reason I do this will become apparent here in a bit. Everything in Washington, D.C. reduces the amount of supplies I need, and I invest everything in factories. I also generally, I don't pretend that I know there's going to be a huge war with Japan, and I don't build up the Pacific because that's not what really happened. So I pretend as if it catches me by surprise. But I do remove my troops from the Philippines. Put everything in Washington, D.C. And the reason I do that, like I said, is to save on supplies. I mean, I said troops, and what I meant was my Navy. I rebased the Navy that's in the Philippines back to Washington, D.C. Once I've got everything set to move, actually I'm going to turn this music volume down. Okay. Then I go to the intelligence tab. I do not really use spying in the game very often. I'm not going to use any counterintelligence. I will raise national unity, and I'm not going to support the ruling party. The reason I don't support the ruling party is I would actually prefer if the Republicans came in the party during the next election. In-game, of course, I'm talking about in-game. Not talking real world politics. So that's all I do there. Politics, I move this to, I actually leave this to acceptability to access because I do not want to support the ruling party. So we'll leave that on Cordell Hull. When it comes to armament, generally I will try to do fighter focus decay because notice he is aligned with the Republican Party, and that's what I'm interested in. I guess either Daniel Roper or Harry Woodring, as long as it's a market liberal or progressive party. Don't really have a whole lot of choices. They're both market liberal. But for now we're going to go with the fighter focus decay because I want to get the fighters out. We also have Hoover, which I try to replace with Murphy, market liberal. And we got Friedman, he's a Democrat. And I don't think I have any options. No, everybody has to be a Democrat, but I'm going to start out with naval intelligence anyway. I'm going to change it to Frank B. Rowlett. Now, right now we've got School of Defense with Marlon Craig, but I want to change it to MacArthur because he's a market liberal. And the Chief of the Army. Again, I'm going to go with MacArthur. The Chief of the Navy is going to go to Frank Knox, Naval Base Efficiency. Cannot do anything with the Chief of the Air Force right now. Get that out of the way. Technology. Now, I enjoy the naval warfare. Some don't, some do. It could be better. You could say that about any game. But right off the bat, I put in the carriers, the battleships. Actually, I put in the whole Navy. I do not go ahead though. What did I just... Oh, that's the only one I want out of that slot. And generally, I will not build the heavy cruisers, but I'm going to, just for this game. I'm going to build everything but battle cruisers and super heavy battleships. Alright, now that we've got the Navy out of the way, I turn to industry and definitely work on education, get more research. We definitely want the radar, the advanced radio detection. Can start that in 36. And what else do I want to do? Navy. Is there anything here that I want to jump ahead? I don't think so. I think we'll go ahead and do Navy. Stick with the Navy theme. Now I'll put this all the way, espionage all the way full, just run it for a day or two to get some spies. I don't require many since I don't really use the spying. There's 31. What else can we throw in there? We definitely want to theory tech, the supply techs. And one more. Bombers. We'll start down the basic bomber path. So that gives me 34, and I'll put the .38, I don't know, in the diplomacy maybe. But I'll run it like that just for a few days to get enough spies built up. Now production, I will delete everything here. Again, I'm not a min-maxer. Don't really care about getting the highest practicals or things of that nature. I'm just playing to enjoy the game. We all know how it ended. And I will switch on the resources map, and I'll just build factories everywhere. Well, not everywhere, of course, but I will build them in locations. And for me, generally it's always the same location every time. I don't know why, but it is. Just fill them up. I always do make sure that Cleveland and excuse me, Detroit get max. And I try to do the West Coast bases. Alright, that should fill my build queue. Now, I turn reinforcements off and upgrades off for now. I also turn supply off for now. Remember, I'm trying to save supply. Obviously, we're going to leave consumer goods where they are, and everything else is going to go directly into production. Now, I also start off right off the bat with a rocket test site, and that should round me out. So everything is production with the exception of the rocket test site, and the rocket test site is going directly to the top. Alright, so all the planes are going to Washington, D.C., the ships are going to Washington, D.C., and the units are going to Washington, D.C. I don't need to see them any longer. So we'll put it on speed 5 for now and let it run. Have to build up some money before I can change the laws. And I generally, yes, I'll buy the supplies. I generally do trade manually. We'll give them energy, because I prefer to do that. but I may wind up for this video just putting on automatic at the start, because it will settle down eventually. And as a rule, I give everybody whatever they want. The start of the game, it doesn't matter. And I figure here's the odd thing, I will try to give, especially Germany, anything they want, even go so far as to make manual trades with them, because I want them to do good. I don't want this to be a boring game. I want there to be, many of my games, well, I won't say many, but several of my games, they totally steamroll Russia, and I enjoy that. Because they are a real beast when they play properly, when the AI plays them properly. See what I generally always try to give them rare material. They're always in a deficit, it seems, early on, and I'll make it the max amount. Even if they cancel in the few days, it will help them. We'll see if they accept it. And I will supply Japan with whatever they want up until I embargo them, and see they accepted that. 11 rare material, that's a good thing. Peace demonstration. Japan wants 34 rare material, we'll give it to them. Whatever they want. We don't want to lead a boring game. Alright. Now Hawaii is basically the home port of the entire Pacific Fleet. So I will build up the air defenses, the infrastructure on the main island here where the base is, from Honolulu, and when I can, I will build up the radar station. Now obviously there are some defenses, so I will build those up to 4. And I realize I don't have to do this, but it's just the way I play. And they're not going to be fast builds anyway, because remember, my build queue is full. Supplies, yes, since remember I'm not producing any supplies, so anyone who will sell me supplies I will accept. Now, once I've got all my military here, this is when I put them into, oh, I forgot that, didn't I? I will turn off auto assign and unassign everyone, because I want to do that manually for all units. We'll just combine everyone and make sure we've got everyone in Washington. Yes. Nope. Where are you at? Ah, I forgot about you. Tactical bomber in Panama. Okay. Bring you also. And then at this point I will go ahead and organize them. I shouldn't say organize. I place them into a proper army with a chain of command and put the leaders in place that will minimize my supply usage. So I start off with pulling all the cores out and deleting anything above 5. It's not needed. You don't have the army to support it anyway. So 7th will disappear. The 6th will disappear. The 5th we want to keep. And this is a loose unit. I will assign, for now, I will assign every unit as a 4 brigade and assign them to a headquarters. Again, this is purely just to save, because I'll have to redo all this later. This is purely just to save supply. And I will, while I'm thinking about it, get rid of 12 old destroyers. Brings me down to 100 even, which is the minimum required to keep the bonus the U.S. Navy has. But that's, and I took some submarines in there, which is fine. They're all older. Okay, now back to doing this. 4th. First Army Corps, just assign, starting with the First Army Corps, assign everything I can to it, and then move on to the second, the third, the fourth, and so on. Alright, Italy. I think that should fill up the first. Sell them energy, and I'm gonna need, come on Japan, supplies. I need some supplies. Selling energy, okay? It's all about the energy. Crude oil, alright? Now the reason I sent that unit into Alexandria without making it a part is I'm going to use that to merge it with the headquarters. And you'll see what I mean here in a moment. Just let all these go where they need to go. Energy. Okay, now we've got the first. I want to merge the first and headquarters, the big red one, into the headquarters. So that leaves me 1 headquarters and 5 subordinate divisions, each one at 4 by infantry. Okay, do the same thing with the second headquarters and the 2nd Indian Head Division. Merge. And again, that should leave me the headquarters and 2, 3, 4, 5 subordinate divisions. Now, this is where it gets tricky because I'm going to take all of these from 5, and it's just because I like to work in numbers, and I'm going to move them over to 3. There's no reason I couldn't leave them to 5, but just prefer moving. That way I know that it's all good up to a certain number. I don't have to look at 1, 2, and 3 again. I know they'll be good. We'll merge their headquarters with the 3rd. Rock of the Marne. Alright, get over there. Notice I'm getting the icon that I'm going to run out of supplies. And that's normal. Let's see if I can manually get some supplies. Let's see if well, I gotta wait. And you know what? I forgot. I forgot about my research, didn't I? Well, that off to a bad start already. We'll leave this in diplomacy. The 0.38. So I've already gone 4 months and I forgot about my technology. Well, that's beautiful. Again, that's typical me. That's okay. Now, let's see if Japan wants to sell me. Nope. Alright, well, this is the setup. For here, I just keep building. There's some supplies. And trying to get supplies. We've got now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's good. And we'll send this over to the 4th. Alright. Now, we're going to take the 1st Army Corps away from the East Theater. We're going to create the 1st Army, 1st Army Group. And attach the 1st Army Group to the East Theater. Now I'm going to put Wainwright in charge of the theater. I'm sorry, I made a mistake, didn't I? This is the Army group level. I'm going to put MacArthur in charge of the Army group level. Put Wainwright in charge of the theater. And I will put Stilwell in charge of the Army. I'll go ahead and add the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th Corps here. Already clicking on the wrong, adding the wrong thing. I want to add it to the 1st Army. Notice he has no subordinates, which means I can load the 1st Army Corps. And for now it doesn't matter if they're old guard or not, because there's no combat going on. We're just trying to save on logistics. Each corps that is full gets a commander that reduces the amount of supplies used. And I'll come over here and give the Pacific Commander one also, even though it's not that important at this stage. Every little bit does help. Alright, let that run a little bit. Make sure I don't wind up getting any penalties. Okay, now what I'm going to do is move everybody back to Washington, D.C. Yes, I'll sell them some crude oil. Alright, now, just to give you an example, right now we can see that my ships use 35.95 supplies every day and 68.60 fuel. So 35.95, 68.60. I'm now going to assign this ship to the lowest level headquarters I can, which would be the 1st Army Corps. Now they only consume 23.80 and 45.23. You can see that's a huge reduction. Well, a big reduction, I won't say huge. Same thing with the Air Force. 981, 1799. Now it's 573 and 1052. That helps. Alright, and that's how I get started for one of my games as the USA. Normally everything I do up to this point. I'll stop the video here and do another one at a later date.